Leverage a network, retain the market. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are G4 Consultancy. I'm Zoe, this is Sunny, that's Michael, and that's Karen. Visa faces its biggest challenge today. It wants to challenge CUP, which is now a major and the only monopoly in the China market. We all know that the Chinese financial cards market is very fertile in a sense that the online retail shopping takes almost half of everyday transaction, and also it has a forecasted annual growth of 20%. And this is something that Visa want to capitalize on, and of course many others want to capitalize on as well. However, CUP is its biggest challenge, and it's thinking, how can we challenge CUP today? Should we challenge, or should we have a further relationship with CUP? And how can it ensure that people pay through the Visa network, but not just from the CUP monopolized network? And also how we can lower the attrition rate, and how do we act against the case filed against Visa lately? And also how can we top the world and maintain our top position, even in China, it's such a new market? And what is the next move? So here we're going to tell you today by G4 that this is what we choose to approach, is that we value the CUP friendship. It's no longer a competitor, but more like friends from now on. And how can we get in place a network in China through levying on the CUP network by being friends with it. Also, this can help soothe the competition and finally ace the top again. And at the end of this presentation today, we are planning to have the total card payment value from 12.5% and increase it to 16%. So again, to leverage a network, retain the market.
Before we take a look at the issues one by one, let's take a look at the parties around Visa. Well, in the customers aspect, we have a lot of Chinese and both Chinese and overseas customers, because the number of tourists from China and to China is increasing. In the competitors aspect, we can see that the competition between CUP and Visa is increasing. And in addition, MasterCard, in which recently has joined the partnership with CUP, it's also one of the biggest rivals of Visa. And for the regulatory bodies, well, actually, Visa can leverage on the help provided by the WTO. However, the Chinese government, which has joined the WTO since 2001, is now doing a lot of regulatory measures against Visa, which we believe it's going to be a very big threat to the development of Visa. And now let's take a look at the company analysis of Visa. Visa has been a very worldwide company with a very large global network of 200 countries, much larger than that of CUP. And it also has a very penetrated network in China, because it has a very large presence in second and third tier cities. However, the transaction fees of Visa has always been criticized as very high, because it charged 1 to 2% of the transaction value to customers, and up to 15 to 20% to merchants, which is a very high amount compared to CUP and other companies. In addition, the double currency conversion gives a lot of delay to the transactions, which is also another disadvantage to the customers, because they do not want to convert the money back to US dollars and then to renminbi to settle their debts. So the delay and the high transaction fees is going to be the major weaknesses of Visa in the near future. In addition, we can also see that the tourism in China is booming. A lot of people are now traveling from China to a lot of countries, and they need credit cards to settle their purchases, which is going to be a major opportunity for Visa, because it has a global network, and people who are going to, for example, some countries in which CUP or other credit cards does not exist, can leverage on. And for the threats, Visa has a lot of rivals, and the recent one is CUP, of course, because it poses a lot of partnerships with other companies, and it also and the bad relationship between CUP and Visa, it's going to be a major barrier to prevent Visa to enter the Chinese market.
Customer is what Visa should value, but however, nowadays, Visa in China only accounts for 3.1% of the total market share, while the other one, the China UnionPay, accounts for over 85%. So what can we do to retain our customers? The high attrition rate of Visa UnionPay is a very worrying situation. People, when they are given the choice to pay the Visa or a UnionPay, they will always opt to pay with a Union card. Why is this the case happening all the time? It is because that Visa charges the customer 1 to 2% of the total transaction fee, while UnionPay, our competitor, does not charge a dollar. So therefore, our customers always would choose the UnionPay instead of Visa. And here is the solution to the problems. First of all, as Visa is now very penetrating and existing in second and third tier cities in China, while our major competitor, UnionPay, does not exist in the second and third tiers of cities. And therefore, we would like to take this opportunity, that is our strength, to penetrate into the second and third tier cities. We will attract the customers by providing them with cash dollars and special awards. For example, just like those credit cards in Hong Kong, if they purchase like $1,000, we will give them, for example, one cash dollar. And if they have a certain amount of cash dollar, they can use it in the next purchase. And we will also give them special reward. As you know, people nowadays would like to have some gifts when they do purchases. And therefore, if they purchase $1,000 in a month, we'll give a little gift like some jewelry for girls and some watches for males. And secondly, we will give the discount on transaction fee if the customer purchase over, for example, $5,000 a time. As I have just mentioned, Visa charges 1 to 2% of the transaction fee when customers are making purchase. And therefore, if we are able to lower our transaction cost a bit, we may attract our customer back. We propose to have discount to the customers only when there is a bulk purchase, because we understand that it will cost a lot if we just imitate the acts of our competitor to offer a 0% of transaction fee, and that's really impossible for us to achieve that because it would cause a tremendous loss to our revenue. And therefore, we only propose this solution if the customers are making a bulk purchase. We believe that this will lower our transaction costs, as well as we can attract our customers back. And the third solution we are proposing is the online shopping. We observe there is a trend of gaining popularity of online shopping in mainland China. I guess most of you have heard about this name, Taobao. And it's actually the most famous online shop in China. And recently, just a few days ago, Taobao, a middleman of Taobao, is suddenly declares that it would no longer function after mid-July. And therefore, we would like to take this opportunity to grasp this golden chance. It is because Taobao, the year revenue of it is over billions of dollars. And if we could have a partnership with Taobao, it may be a very great opportunity for us to expand and penetrate into China, this huge market. Because nowadays, Taobao's users are mainly teenagers and youngsters, and we believe credit cards are their necessity, and therefore we are confident that if we can have partnership or business with Taobao, we can grasp this huge piece of revenue from other competitors. And as this news is very fresh, and we would like to take prompt action to talk to Taobao about this transaction. Last but not least, we also observe there is a trend of increasing outbound travel of Chinese people. Chinese travelers is among the highest across the world, especially to some European and the US cities. We would like to further expand our network by providing them our Visa card, because our competitor, UnionPay, does not exist in some of the cities in the Europe and the US, and therefore we can take this chance to let our customers use their card in those cities where UnionPay does not exist. you can see that there are over 60 million travelers in 2011 alone, and it is forecast that there will be a more tremendous increase in the number of customers. And therefore, we would like to mainly leverage our network of Visa, which is very unique, unlike our most competitor, and they cannot catch up with us in a short time. And therefore, we would like to leverage this network and hope to retain the market share in China, maybe to a very high percentage in the future.
Leverage the network, retain the market. Speaking of networking, after Karen telling you that our customer strategy, the next stakeholder that we have to consider is our competitors. We all know that this market is becoming more fierce. The competitors are becoming stronger, and also they are forming partnership against us. Therefore, we have to consider it if we want to retain this market. First of all, let's look at the position map of the current situation. Here we can see that we, Visa, have the highest global usage, but we are also the one that charges the highest price. However, for the China Unicom Pay, it is actually rapidly growing for the global reach, and it is charging so low. And next, let's move to our future positioning map that we hope we can see in maybe 3 years' time. We hope that Visa will still have a wide global coverage, but at the same time, we can lower the price that we are charging. And here you can see that we expect that actually China Unicom will increase their global reach and also their global usage in 3 years' time. Next, let's look at the competitors' analysis. The major competitors that we consider in this case is CUP. First of all, we can look at the CUP side. We can see that the CUP does not levy on the currency transaction fee for international transaction, but we, Visa, charge about 1% to 2%. Actually, it is from the viewpoint of customer, it is actually quite a large amount. And secondly, is the currency conversion. We know that the China Unicom do not need to transfer from USA to renminbi. Instead, they directly transfer the payment into renminbi. But we, Visa, have to transfer from USA dollars to renminbi, and this actually incurred a higher transaction cost. And thirdly, the payment network. Is 15% to 20% longer than Visa for China Unicom. And most importantly is the government policy, because we all know that China is a market with high protectionism. And this is a major factor that we have to consider. We all know that the WTO forced China to open up its market in 2006, but in fact, China claimed that they have opened up. But in fact, China is actually doing a lot of favorable policy to its local business and do not truly open up the market. And we have to take this into consideration. Therefore, we think that it is actually impossible for us to go against Unicom, but instead, we should cooperate with them. Here is the partnership between CUP and Visa. We were once friends, but we become competitors. But we hope that in the future, we can become friends again, because actually we cannot have very concrete measures to control the government policy. Therefore, it is wise to cooperate with them. So, in order to cooperate with them, we have to know our bargaining chip. First of all, let's look at the existing bargaining chip. That we are actually, Visa, we rank the first in global usage. That in terms of global payment value, we account for 39.8% for the entire global market. And secondly, and the second one is MasterCard is only account for 22.2%. Therefore, we think that it is actually a very lucrative bargaining chip to persuade that CUP should cooperate with us instead of MasterCards. And next, we move to the next is the extra bargaining chips that we can provide for the partnership. First one is to help them to set up their payment network, because we know that CUP is actually wishing to increase their international exposure and also increase their international network. And we actually have more than 200 serving countries, and CUP only has 117 countries. And therefore, what we can help them is to help to develop their network there. And the second one is to allow them to use CUP's network. Because why do we have conflict with CUPs before? Is because we do not allow them, because we accuse them of using their own payment method but not using Visa. And therefore, in order to increase our bargaining chip in the hope that we can cooperate with them, we may open up the channel to use CUP's payment method in the overseas market. So that we hope that they will think that this is advantage for them. Next, we can see the benefit from the partnership. In fact, if we do not cooperate with the CUP will cooperate with MasterCard. And therefore, it is a must for us to form this partnership to avoid intense competition. And the second one is to capture the lucrative market, because as we all know that the China market is rapidly growing, and it is found that the credit card payment is increasing for 20% year by year, and therefore China is a market that we definitely need.
And the last stakeholder, regulatory bodies. We all know that Visa has recently got into many legal issues and legal conflicts with both CUP, and this involved the two main regulatory bodies that might affect its future expansion into China, and which is mainly WTO and Chinese government. We all know that recent ruling, the WTO, in some way favored us. However, how can we ensure that we don't have to go through this huge, costly and complicated, that takes almost 5 years, 6 months to 5 years, regulatory bodies to do something similar again? We have to ensure that we be friends with both of them. It's not just CUP that we have to have a friendly relationship with, but also the two main regulatory bodies. And this is what we propose to you today, that with WTO, we should not initiate any cases or suits against other companies. For example, especially for CUP, because we should conduct a friendly relationship, and then this will continue for and pave a better path for us to invest and go into the China market. And although the Chinese government, although we understand that they have not promised to open up as much as they said in the WTO commitment. However, we all know that the Chinese government is taking a step slowly, and this is what Visa can do. We can bring in the international exposure, international cooperation, international network into China and help them together to achieve the goals. And this is what we tell you today on G4, that we should leverage our network, CUP's network, and we can retain the market in China. What is Visa most famous for? It's for its global exposure, global reach, and its long history and its own very refined network payment. However, what it is stopping it to be as good as it can be in China as well as any other places? It's its cost. It is stubbornness to be friends with those competitors, which can help them to be bigger and be top again. Let's face the fact that today that CUP is just a monopoly in China. We can't change this by a second. But how can we do this? We can be friends with this top monopoly, and we can be two monopolies at the same time. And then this will help us to be in the market again, to make China this fertile land of Visa credit payment, both inside the Chinese market and outside the global network. How can we do this? Our colleagues today tell you we can approach this from 3 ways: from the customers, from the competitors, and from the regulatory bodies. We be friends with all of them and try to maintain a friendly relationship with all of them, give rewards, give cash rebates, and we help the CUP to set up its own network, bring in our expertise, bring in theirs, and this we can do: leverage the market, retain the leverage the network, retain the market. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Basically, that so-called issue is same for all the countries, say in Australia you sign up a credit card in Aussie dollars, then you still need that. Say you are from Hong Kong, okay? So you still need that so-called double currency conversion to arrive the final billing on your credit card statement. So why that is so special in the China market? You know, everyone in the world the same.
I guess, well, it's a little bit more special in China is because of CUP, because from the case, it's stated that CUP is now partnering with a lot of banks to have a dual currency credit card. So the mechanism is that I use the credit card to pay, and then with which is denominated in the local currency. So I do not have to change it back to the US dollar and then to the local currency. This gives a lot of convenience to the customers, and it's going to be a big threat to in its credit card. We mentioned that because CUP can make use of this advantage. It's convenience to customers to get the market share from Visa. So we believe it's an important issue to address because several countries like Japan, Taiwan, or even some APAC countries are already having those dual currency credit cards. So, yeah.
More importantly, we all know that the Chinese renminbi, the exchange, they still not really have an official buying of renminbi accounts, and there's like the closest way you can get a direct kind of exchange is in Hong Kong. We know that Hong Kong has a renminbi set of how do you call it, the exchange rates area, which is a bank that you can actually do it conveniently. And this is something that's what the Chinese government has set. This is in the law, it is legal, and it's something that we cannot change while it just being affirmed. And how we can work around this is what we propose to you today, that we recognize this is their own advantage, and we could not make this at our advantage in such a short time. This is what I've been trying to tell you in the presentation as well. And this is how we can use our advantage to work against this their own advantage that we cannot change. We know that this will change in time, but how can we forecast this? There will be our advantage in the future as well. It's by working with CUP, who has its own advantage, and we can make its advantage into our advantage, and this is what we're proposing today.
You talk about now it would make friends with the Chinese government and with the CUP, but Visa is the company who initiated the legal suit and filed the case file with WTO. Given that you face a challenge, and CUP, they don't want to make friends with you, and work closely with MasterCard and other banks. So you think that your company in the past few years did very wrongly, of a very wrong strategy in the past few years? Do you think that?
I cannot say that it's a wrong strategy because, a few years before, because it's like the Visa tried to make this a fairer market for the foreign companies. It has brought up a lawsuit against CUP with MasterCard and American Express as well. So I think it was actually a sensible move. I cannot say that it's not sensible because the WTO eventually justified that the China government has to open its market. But eventually, what happened was the Chinese government can only follow the letters on the documents, on the articles, but not the spirit of the WTO agreement. So I think it was a good try to see if it's okay to open the market. But I think the most important thing we have to do is to look at the future but not the past, because now Visa is losing its market share because CUP is partnering with other companies and is still the monopoly in China. That is the reason why we propose to make friends with them. This is based on the present situation but not the past situation.
I have a similar question in terms of becoming friends and the emphasis that you've placed on working with CUP, and especially one of your offers that you want to make to them is to open up your network to them. My concern is that that you've tried in the past, and CUP has taken advantage of you over time in terms of getting into, say, I think they're in the US and then, or met other places besides US, and have worked with retailers there to discourage buyers from using their Visa's network, not CUP's. What is it about your strategy that you think this time you can convince them to be friends?
Because actually we have a conflict before with CUP. It's because we accuse that they do not use our network but use their own network. So that we launched the lawsuit to them to ask them to pay back us. And now we are proposing that maybe we can open up the network, maybe to a certain ratio to share that network, so that CUP can legally and also with the consent of us to use their own networks. And we think that that is a great step forward for them, because before that they are using that illegally or without our consent. And now we can maybe set up a ratio, say 7-3, 7 to Visa and 3 to CUP, so that people from the America can use the network of both companies. And I think that this is a great step forward for our partnership, because before that they just illegally using that.
But given that the friends you're talking about, do you think CUP they need you more, or you need them more?
Actually, in terms of China market, we need them more. But in terms of global market, I think that they need us more, because it is the fact that we have a wider global reach in more than 200 countries. And at the current stage that CUP only have a global reach of 170 countries. And it is also their main goal to go global, to expand their network to global. And therefore, actually, in this term, we have the advantages of helping them, and that means we are helping each other, and in terms of global market, we are the one that provide some benefit to them, and in the China market, they are the one to provide benefits to us.
And also like the payment network system, so because we have a more refined payment network system, which the Chinese, the CUP is still setting up, and therefore where can I find this expertise and how can I grow faster and that it wished? This is what this is another advantage that we can levy on and provide them. And also we have tried a hard way, and it did not work. And this is a time for Visa to look at the other way around. How can we work softly with them, which is being a friend and friendship, establishing a friendship, but also holding it back. So therefore, it will be advantages to both of us. But when we cannot be enemies, because both parties need each other, and this is the main thing we recognize, and it's something that we need to work towards.
Have you considered the scenario? Okay, because we have been talking about this Visa against CUP for the whole morning. But how about MasterCard and a company called Shanghai Public Transport? Actually, these two are, to be, your real competitor in the China market rather than CUP, because CUP is so big, it has 86% of the card issued in China compared to 3.1% for Visa, 2.5% for Master, and 1.9% for Shanghai Public Transport. So it's actually these two, I mean, MasterCard and Shanghai Public Transportation are your real competitor in the China market rather than the big giant. You have no way to win the big giant in the China market.
Yeah, I understand your concern. It is because that our card, that is Visa UnionPay, is a very, I would say, unique card, because it can work in both first-tier city and second and third-tier city. While the card you have just now mentioned is not very popular, it's not very common in all parts of the China. But our
even MasterCard.
No, I mean the card that you have just mentioned, the co-branded card, the one MasterCard and the Shanghai Transport thing.
Actually, two. I mean, Shanghai Card itself, and then Shanghai Public Transportation Card Company. So
you mean two individual cards?
Yes, two individual.
Oh yeah, as mentioned in the case that Visa card is the only, is one of the few very card that is very popular in the second and third tier city, and this is our unique selling point, because there is only we are dominating in the second and third tier city. So we do not consider those two cards that you have just now mentioned.
Thank you, Chinese you. The time is up for Q&A. Thank you, judges.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.